So, something I picked up in the Twin Cities during my last trip down there was this Dyson DC22 Motorhead. Now, it had a pretty big problem that wasn't apparent in the listing photos, but I still ended up buying it anyways, thinking that perhaps I could fix it. Well, I mean, I kinda did, but it's sloppy. So the problem is, this hose has been replaced. As you can see, it no longer matches this color because somebody had left it on something hot, or at least it seemed that way, and so there was like a gigantic melted like dent in this thing. And I know my friend Josh has had some luck with like Miele upright hoses, just putting them in like hot water, and that would kind of, you know, cause them to retract. But those are a wire reinforced stretch hose, as to where this is just a crush proof piece of hose. So I attempted to do that, thinking, you know, maybe the heat would make it pliable and I could kind of pop it back into shape. Well, it's like I put it in the water and it immediately split right open, so it's like crap. But my solution was then to extract the wire that was in here, and I got a piece of 1.5-inch hose, and this is not a very pretty job, I will say that. And what I used in here was this stuff, polyplastic. You submerge it in hot water or even like simmering water, and it turns clear when it's ready to be molded. From there, you can shape it, and then once it hardens, it kind of turns this white color. So I think I have at least a sufficient connection between the cuffs, and I had to do some pretty catastrophic damage to this cuff to get that out of there, because this the wire harness that runs through here was built into this cuff. And of course, you know, when it comes to Dyson parts, you can't get just a piece of the hose, you would have to buy the entire thing. And a new hose, if I could find one, ranged anywhere from $130 to like $180, or maybe it was $190. And it's like, I doubt I'm going to use this machine that much, so I don't really want to do that. So this was my solution. And although it's not perfect, you know, having a fair amount of that hose blocked off, I'm not too concerned about that. Why? Because this has a lot of narrow passages in it. See, this inlet is for the bin. I mean, it's really quite a bit smaller because this is just dead space over here. And then on the underside of here, in the filter cavity, which I'll have to open up, here too we have an incredibly narrow passage for the air. Very, very narrow. I don't know why they designed this machine like that, but there isn't another cavity on the front, so all the exhaust air has to go through this narrow little tunnel. Okay, so I can't really take an airflow measurement on this thing at the unit, because I mean, I don't think that's a very accessible space. And just due to the way the power wands on these work, I'm not going to be taking a measurement of this collapsed. Why? Because this hose is actually built into, I guess I'm not sure exactly where it attaches in here, but having the wand extended or not won't affect anything here, because when the wand's extended, it just draws the hose into the wand, which really makes for a short hose when you're using it on floors, but whatever. Alright, so we're going to take the ambient voltage, the wattage, and for the handle testing and such, I'm just going to leave it collapsed, like I said. So we're going to start this on, and I'll have to shut the brush roll off. Oh, and there's a low speed too, so why don't we start with a low speed brush roll off. Brush roll on. High speed. And we'll switch the brush roll on. Alright. Alright, we got the machine set up here, and we'll take the airflow at the end of the wand. I'm just going to measure high speed as per usual. And if memory serves, when I try to apply the suction gauge to this thing, it might shut off. So let's see what we can get. Yep, shuts off. A little conflicted on this, because clearly this must be a suction relief on the brush roll. Although, given its airflow, I'm not sure that's necessary exactly. So I was kind of like, do I cover this? Do I not cover this? Because, I mean, if it's intended to be there, then it's kind of like we're not really going to get an accurate number if I do cover that. But I think what I'll do is I'll use some of the thinner tape and go around that, and then maybe we'll take the set of measurements again with them covered just to see what its maximum capabilities are. Alright, so the vent is mostly left open this time around, so let's see what we get, and then we'll try covering it and see if it dramatically shifts the performance of it. You definitely feel some leak in here and here, but that's to be expected. Suppose it was the same, because it uses so little wattage. And you know, on second thought, I'm only going to run the vent closed test with the nozzle off. Those probably act as some sort of cooling vent for the motor, so let's not mess with it. Okay. Yeah, tape must have come loose. So let's try the nozzle suction again. Well, that's surprising. Hasn't moved much. It's certainly interesting to be able to experience one of the other versions of the digital motor models, because I was quite disappointed in the DC22 my friend Josh had. This one, I mean, it's not that much better, and you would think when they advertise it having a motor that spins at 88,000 RPM that it would be far more powerful than it is. Granted, the air path on this thing definitely comes into play with that, having that narrow exhaust path, having the narrow opening here. That's definitely not helping it. And I'm sure my fix in here probably doesn't help it either. But it's impossible for me to say exactly how much. And I still kind of stand on the ground that, the passage in here still isn't as narrow as that exhaust path, so it can't be that bad for it. And I don't know what it is with this nozzle, but the few DC22 Motorheads I could find on YouTube all have that kind of rattling noise to them, and I don't know what that's about. And I just can't help but wonder why, he designed these power nozzles to have the air path on top like that. I always figured that would be the most difficult point to get, to get the dirt to, is to have a straight vertical lift on it. They had, I think by this point they had like the cordless stick vacs, and I can't help but wonder if a design like that would have been a little bit more efficient. But, it is what it is. but definitely an interesting machine to check out. So